Hello everybody and welcome to Vintage Thursday. So I guess we need to say Vintage Thursday has become a little bit sporadic just recently. That's due to purely down to lack of time on my part. We're working on another project that's not related to vintage or the farm really. It's not getting filmed, and that's taken up all weekends and spare time, which is when I would normally be playing with the old stuff. So normal service will be resumed as soon as it's practical. And just a quick note, Vintage Thursday mugs are still available. Email me all the instructions on obtaining a mug or in the description box down below. So, right. Oh yes, and while you're emailing, and just before you email, you should probably subscribe as well, because you can do that from the little red button down there. So, right. Today's video, you can see, you may tell, you may not, we are sat on a combine. Now, a little bit of a story to this. So about 2 weeks ago maybe, we found some old photographs. And I started putting one or two of them on Instagram. One of those photographs was this combine. And we got a lot of discussion. So I got a lot of discussion, namely, did we still have it? Does it work? And can we do a video about it? And then the discussion came up. And then the combine came up again in discussion in the live Vintage Thursday feed video thing we did a couple of weeks ago. And we kind of decided in that video, perhaps I ought to do an introduction or a look around this combine as best we can, because obviously it's stuck in the shed. You know, it's not that easy to get around it. It is a bit shoehorned in, and we've got bits and pieces taking up all the space. So we'll do as best we can. Right. So this is a Massey Ferguson 788. I believe it's 1962, but there's not a great deal of data available for the actual manufacture of these things. It's one of the early ones. They got released in 1962, and I believe it's quite an early one. So it may be early 63, but it's round about that kind of area. It's certainly an early one, because there's some features on the later ones that aren't on this one, which leads me to believe, you know, things get introduced as time goes by. So how did I get hold of this? It was 1999. I saw this advertised in a magazine, and I rang up about it. I don't quite know why I fancied it, but I've always been a bit of a combine fan, which is very strange for a dairy farmer to be quite so interested in combines as what I am. But never before on this channel have I claimed to be normal, and I'm not starting now. So I rang up the advert about the combine. And the guy said, somebody else is coming to look at it. I will let you know which way he wants to go. You know, if he buys it, obviously he gets, you know, he's got first choice. Anyway, the guy rang me back and said the first guy to look at it didn't want it, and I was free to go and look if I wanted. So me and my brother, we got in the car and we went off to Bicester, Oxfordshire, to have a look at this combine. I'd already arranged with our neighbour who's got a lorry. I said to him, are you ever up that way? Could you bring it home for me? And he said, well, I might be able to sort something out. So we went off, looked at this combine, did the deal, paid the man, and I came back and I said to our neighbour, can you bring it home for me at some point? And Julie, he didn't pick it up, but he arranged for somebody he knew to pick it up for me and bring it back here. So this arrived on the yard in the summer of 1999. Now, we were farming organically at the time, back then, and we were growing a little bit of wheat. So that was probably a bit of the reason for buying it. We could actually use it back then. So I've got so what I'll do is I'll put in the photos I've got that we took, some of which have appeared on Instagram and some haven't. So I'll put those in now, so you can see they're a film of photographs from the 1999, 2000, 2001 kind of time. Okay, so we're just filming some photographs here, so it's not terribly clear. But this is the day it came, or when we first had it, 1999, just sat in the yard. And we'll just quickly flick through. Must have been making some silage, look, because we were mowing at the time, and there's a silage trailer, so it would have been, I can't remember, would it have been May time? I just can't remember. Anyway, so here we are, first time out. This is later in the summer, into some organic wheat. loading. You can see the blue was a toolbox. We were having unloading issues. We'll go into that in a minute in the video. That's a 265 on the trailer. That is a JF 6-ton trailer. That's me with a, you can see, airflow helmet. I think that's what they call them, to keep the dust down. There's a battery pack and electric motor filter in the air. Okay, so this is first time around the field. Just some friends come to see it. I'm just checking to see what's going over the back. Still doing the headland there, and here we are. Here was our first tank load, or a couple of tank loads into the trailer. So I'd never set a combine up before. We just did it by the book. That's quite a clean sample there. It's not bad. Organic wheat for novice combine operators. It looks fairly clean. There's me again. Okay, so we're a different year now. I think we're probably into 2002 now. Different field. A lot better crop. Much better for organic wheat. That was quite good. Nice and tall. Good lot of grain there. But as you can see, we did have a few docks. But we are unloading into the same trailer again. But look at the straw. That's 8-foot swath. That's a good lot of straw there. You can see we had to stop to unload. Chugging along. Nice, again, nice big swath of straw and a good crop waiting to be cut. That's just an arty shot taken by Mum. Took all these photographs. She was into photography in those days, and that's one of them artistic-y shots. And the final one, just coming down the headland, a little bit far away there, but again you can see the length of the crop, or the height of the crop, and a good lot of straw there. So I said this was a 1962-ish combine. They were built, all Massey combines were built in Kilmarnock in Scotland, which was a Massey Harris factory. They were building tractors and balers during the Massey and combines during the Massey Harris days. And after the merger, when it became Massey Ferguson, the combines and balers stayed up in Scotland being manufactured. So this left the factory. I don't know where it went to. I don't know any history of it. I've no idea of how much work it's done, where it was new. But I don't know any history of it at all. But this is a diesel engine, Perkins A4270 engine. That's down under there, down under the elevator housing. We'll try and have a look at that in a minute if we can. There was a TVO option, but this is the Perkins diesel. Tanker, as you can see. Now the combine previous to this was a 780 or 7. They had a 726. That became a 780, then a 780 special, and then finally it became the 788, which was kind of the finish of this design. After that, they introduced the 400-500 series, which was quite a bit different. That was the end of this kind of design with a high drum. That was the finish of this design. What sets this apart from the 780 special? You can just see that curved bit over there right by the pole of the shed, and that is actually the air intake for the radiator screen. On the 780s, that was stuck up in the air like a big square vertical perforated steel affair. That is so they changed that, and that is now swept back. It's lower than the actual height of the machine. It's just a little bit tidier. It's an easy way to recognise a 788 basically. And inside that box, that's all perforated to keep the chaff, to let the air in but keep the chaff out. And inside of the actual horizontal part is on a crank is a flap, so that it's sucking air from one side at a time. So the theory being that when it's not sucking from one side, the chaff falls off of that, but the engine can still breathe. And then over there we've got the Hessian sack on top of the air intake. They've had that for years and years. and there you can just see that as the returns elevator. Another feature of the 788 over the 780, on the tanker versions, the 780 just had the elevator coming up with a spout dropping it in. The 788 has got that cross auger to fill the tank a bit better. Again, keeps the height a little bit lower down and the overall height. So this is an 8 foot, it's either an 8 foot or 8'6" cut, I'm not sure now. There was 8 and a 10 foot cut. This is the 8 foot. Bit of a bird's eye view. So here is the table, standard, same as nowadays. Nice section at the front, the rail turns round. The rail can be pushed in and out on this crank here. It's pulled right back in to get us room in the shed. And also the rail hydraulically lifts up and down independently of where it is on forwards. So that is achieved by, this is our table up and down lever. Yeah, it's all hydraulic on these. The 780 was an option of either hydraulic or electric. It's just hydraulic on this. So that's table up, table down. When you press it, there's a diverter valve just here under my toe. Okay, so when you press that and operate the lever, that is what does the reel. So back for the reel up, while you've got the diverter pressed, down lets the reel drop down. Okay, so under this housing is the elevator chain. So the auger feeds it to the elevator, brings it up, and under this cover here is the drum. So the drum is very high. The crop all comes all the way up here. Drum is under here, spinning round, and then it passes into the straw walkers and on down out of the back. Okay, so look at the control. So this is, we've said that, table height on here. This here is your traction speed lever. We'll come to that in a minute. Pull to stop. The 3 gauges for oil pressure, water temperature and charging. This is, okay, so we can just see some of the stickers still. Throttle. Okay, so there's 2 positions. There's off or tick over and flat out. That's all you ever get on a combine. There's nothing in between. So down here, this is a starting lever to pull to engage like a mechanical engaged starter. Okay, so you pull that up. This lever, the big lever, is to engage the threshing mechanism. So that comes up, big over center, and that puts everything in gear in one go. So all the drum, the beaters, the straw walkers, the table, all goes in gear in one go. There is no way of putting the table in gear separately. And then this lever here is your gearbox. So we've got 2 forward gears and reverse. So that's low gear. You get reverse in the center, neutral, and then high is back there. So that's basically your road speed, reverse, and your field speed is down there, it's low. Now this has got an infinitely adjustable forward speed or speeds, which is done here all hydraulically. You don't actually need the clutch. The clutch will stop you if you're going, but you don't need the clutch to change gear. You can pull it back to here and it stops you, and there's little notches in there, so every notch is very slightly faster. It's all hydraulically controlled onto variator pulleys, so you can see the notches there. So you see the notches clicking in. And while there's hydraulic pressure in the system while it's running, that will actually lift the clutch pedal up and down. Okay, so pull it right back, the clutch is down, push it forward, the clutch gently comes up to wherever the drive is. If you need to stop in a hurry, you can press the clutch and that stops the forward motion. Right, so another nice little feature on this combine, we've got the original fire extinguisher. I wouldn't like to trust it, but it's a nice feature to have on there. And as mentioned earlier on, the tank, the cross auger feeds into the tank. Okay, so here we see the unloading auger in the transport position. So what that does, that folds round. This here is a hinge arrangement. So this folds round, couples onto the bottom of the tank, lift the slide up, lock the auger on with those two catches here, one each side, and put the belt on. So while you're working, the auger is always on the tank in the stuck out position with the big loading spout hanging down. If you've seen pictures of you've seen in the pictures of it working, the spout is always out. So they didn't bring in the hydraulic adjustable spout until the 400 and 500 series came out. So on these, while you were combining and there was grain in the tank, the auger was always stuck out in the unloading position. You didn't move it. You didn't put it away until you moved fields. Now this is this part is, I believe, only on the early ones. The later ones, the later 788s had it hinged on the tank and it just kind of folded vertically and then out. It didn't pivot round as tidy as this. I think this is a hangover from the 780 days. They changed the later 788s to mount the auger onto the actual tank. Okay, so peering down into the guts of the machine, you can see probably there's 3 dirty great big springs here, and they are what are taking the pressure off the table. They pull, as they pull, the table will lift, so that's kind of giving a bit of assistance to the hydraulic ram while it's lifting the table up and down. Okay, so in there we have the fan that provides the air for cleaning, blowing chaff up through the sieves. And at the front there is the gearbox, and that big pulley you can see, that is one half of the variator drive. So there's a big chunky belt between that pulley and another one coming off the back of the engine shaft. And you might just see, oh, I can't hold everything at once. Just in there you might just see a big fat spring. That is part of the variator. So as you move the lever, the 2 halves of the pulley, if I can get me making a shadow, it's not working. So the 2 halves of the pulley will spread and close up. It's depending on how fast you're going. Then what that does is basically change the diameter of the pulley because they're tapered. The wider apart they are, the smaller the diameter. I'm not explaining it very well. It's a clever system, but it's hard to explain. Right, so just while we're here looking at the back of I just explained about the shaft off the back of the engine with that other pulley on it. So I've been asked quite a few times, does this combine still work? It did drive into the shed, but it came in a long time ago, and at the moment it wouldn't drive out. It is not in an operational condition. So the problem we have, ever since we had it, there's been an issue with that shaft coming out of the engine. Okay, so it just comes straight out the back of the engine. It drives that variator pulley. It's got a drive pulley for the unloader auger, which is the belt we saw. And right on the end of it is a drive for the hydraulic pump that works the variator pulleys and the table lift and the reel lift. Now when we first had it, the nut fell off the end, right on the end that drives the hydraulic pump. That gave us some issues, and we always had a bit of an unknown as to whether it was actually going to unload or not. It was always a bit stressful when the tank was full. You'd pull the lever, sometimes it unloaded, sometimes it didn't. So we obtained a scrap 788, a slightly newer one that was rusted out underneath, and we changed that shaft and the variator pulleys over. We got a good thread on the end of that shaft with the intention of that would fix it and it would go on forever, but it didn't. There's a terrible vibration on that shaft somewhere, and it's shaking the pulley that drives the hydraulic pump. It's chewed a belt up between the yard, between the sheds. The last time we moved it, it chewed up a belt because of the vibration. So there's something wrong in there. That's why it's put in here, and that is why it's not operational at the minute. It's on the list of things to do, but not for a little while. So summer 2021 Vintage Thursday is all planned out. Summer 2022 is currently vacant, so maybe we might pull that shaft out and have a look. We need to cure that vibration somehow. Right, so we're on to the other side of the combine now. So there is our engine air intake, and that there is the radiator intake that I said had the flap inside. It goes side to side to make the chaff fall off. Under here, this is the drive sprockets for the drum, and under here is where you change your drum speed. You physically put different sprockets on to change the speed of the drum on these early ones. And this big nut here, or this big hexagon, is the concave adjustment. Now on the later ones the concave adjustment was done from the platform, but again this makes this an early one, but it doesn't have that. It's got to be done manually. Okay, so shine a bit of light. Here is the engine, tucked right up under everything, next to the wheel, under the drum. Can't show you a lot there, but that's where the engine is too. Battery sits here, and there, that's one of the rams for lifting the table up and down. Right, so there we go. That is the little walk around, as best we can walk around when it's in a shed, of the 788. So I hope that's kind of covered everything you needed to. As always, stick a comment in the comment section if there's anything you want to know. I'm not sure what else there is to say. I think hopefully, yeah, hang around 2022 maybe we'll work on this. So I said 2021 summer is planned. There's going to be a combine featuring in that plan in the spring, so subscribe, you know, hang around, come back and see that in the spring. So don't forget your mug, order a mug and subscribe, and come back in the spring for more combine action. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.